Lesson 170. There is no cruelty in God and there is none in me. Welcome to the Qigong support for A Course in Miracles students. I'm Judith and this is the Lucid Mind Center. I'm very glad that you're here with me today. Today we're going to read this lesson together first. We're going to contemplate it, and at the end I will guide you to a Qigong class which is suitable for you to apply this lesson in. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and also at the end let me know where you're watching from and how long you've been with A Course in Miracles. Your feedback matters to me. Let's begin today straight away with reading the lesson. Lesson 170. There is no cruelty in God and none in me. No one attacks without intent to hurt. That is true. This can have no exception. When you think that you attack in self-defense, you mean that to be cruel is protection. You are safe because of cruelty. You mean that you believe to hurt another brings you freedom. And you mean that to attack is to exchange the state in which you are for something better. So it means that your attack is to exchange the state in whichever you find yourself in, this particular scene you find yourself in, to exchange that scene for something better. And that we totally believe. A situation which is more safe, more secure from dangerous invasion and from fear. How thoroughly insane is the idea that to defend from fear is to attack. For here is fear begot and fed with blood to make it grow and swell with rage. And thus is fear protected, not escaped. Today we learn a lesson which can save you more delay and needless misery than you can possibly imagine. It is this. You make what you defend against. You make what you defend against. And by your own defense against it, it is real and inescapable, because that is what you're defending against. Lay down your arms, and only then do you perceive it false. And you're going to observe this self-defense. I have for a long time realized that my way of dealing with fear, when I'm afraid, I attack. This is like an instant reaction. I immediately go for it. It swells up and I feel like I have to go for it. I can't sit with fear. Other people, they can sit with fear and maybe then feel sorry for themselves. But even when I'm feeling sorry for myself, it is full of attack and full of revenge. And it is hard. And it is interesting. I think it is very useful for us to become aware of how you are hiding this fear. Are you doing it in defending yourself? Are you doing it in attacking yourself? Are you doing it with becoming aloof and pretending it hasn't happened? How do you hide that fear from yourself? Because remember a few lessons before it said you have to become aware of your problem so you can solve it. And mine is definitely attack. I think it's a Slavic thing. We attack. We don't defend, we attack. It seems to be the enemy without that you attack, that enemy which is outside of you. Yet your defense sets up an enemy within, an alien thought at war with you, depriving you of peace, splitting your mind into two camps which seem wholly irreconcilable. For love now has an enemy, an opposite. And fear, the alien now, needs your defense against the threat of what you really are. If you consider carefully the means by which your fancied self-defense proceeds on its imagined way, you will perceive the premises on which the idea stands. First, it is obvious ideas must leave their source. For it is you who make attack and must have first conceived of it. Yet you attack outside yourself and separate your mind from him who is to be attacked. With perfect faith, the split you made is real. Next are the attributes of love bestowed upon its enemy. For fear becomes your safety and protector of your peace, to which you turn for solace and escape from doubts about your strength and hope of rest in dreamless quiet. And as love is shorn of what belongs to it and it alone, love is endowed with attributes of fear. For love would ask you lay down all defenses as merely foolish, and your arms indeed would crumble into dust, for such they are. The arms, the weapons. With love as enemy, must cruelty become a god, and gods demand that those who worship them obey their dictates and refuse to question them. Harsh punishment is meted out relentlessly to those who ask if their demands are sensible or even sane. It is their enemies who are unreasonable and insane, while they are always merciful and just. Today we look upon this cruel God dispassionately, and we note that though his lips are smeared with blood and fire seems to flame from him, he is but made of stone. He can do nothing. We need not defy his power. He has none. And those who see in him their safety have no guardian, no strength to call upon in danger, and no mighty warrior to fight for them. This moment can be terrible, but it can also be the time of your release from abject slavery. This particular lesson is a tough one to grasp. You make a choice standing before this idol, seeing him exactly as he is. Will you restore to love what you have sought to wrest from it and lay before this mindless piece of stone? Or will you make another idol to replace it? For the god of cruelty takes many forms. Another can be found. This is such a tough one. Because if something happens, if something cruel happens, and you don't stop it, is that the right thing? Not to stop it? Not to defend? To just let it happen? Can be this the solution? I mean, I'm asking myself here because I am unsure about this. I have not got an answer to this. But I also believe that when you find yourself in a situation which is difficult, and you connect inwards and you say, help me with this, and then a reaction comes out of this depth of you, then it's also important that you trust that which comes out. This moment can be terrible, but it can also be the time of your release from abject slavery, from slavery. You make a choice standing before this idol, seeing him exactly as he is, because this is like a cruel idol who you go with, because you think, oh, well, either I go with him because he's cruel, like in a war situation, or what do I do? You connect to God. Will you restore to love what you have sought to wrest from it and lay before his mindless piece of stone? Or will you make another idol to replace it? For the god of cruelty takes many forms. Another can be found. Yet do not think that fear is the escape from fear. You cannot escape from fear through fear. Let us remember what the Course has stressed about the obstacle to peace. The final one, the hardest to believe, is nothing. And the seeming obstacle with the appearance of a solid block, impenetrable, fearful, and beyond surmounting it, is the fear of God himself. This is the biggest problem we have, is the fear of God himself. Here is the basic premise which enthrones the thought of fear as God. For fear is loved by those who worship it, and love appears to be invested now with cruelty. Where does the totally insane belief in God of vengeance come from? Love has not confused its attributes with those of fear, yet must the worshippers of fear perceive their own confusion in fear's enemy, its cruelty as now as part of love. And what becomes more fearful than the heart of love itself? Just what springs to my mind is a war situation. We had a war recently where my family was involved. It was in Yugoslavia and ex-Yugoslavia, between Bosnia, in Bosnia. Part of my family is from Bosnia. And they were neighbors through the whole generation, and Croatians, Catholics, which are the Catholics, and then the Serbs, which are either not believing in anything or believing in the Russian Orthodox Church, or the Muslims, which are believing in Islam. So were those three parties in Bosnia, and they were fighting against each other. My family is the Catholics in North Bosnia. And they actually started hating the other ones, which were maybe their neighbors before. And if they caught some of the others, if any of those parties caught any of the other parties, they would punish them. They would feel that they are justified in their right to punish them to death even, or really punish them. But as a matter of fact, any single one of those people was just confused, or was just hiding behind that mob, or was part of that mob which was attacking the other mob. And I think what is meant here is in the gods of vengeance. So because the other one has done this and that, so now I am entitled to vengeance. Now I'm entitled to punish this other person. And the question is, if I am defending, is that the same as punishing? These are the kind of things which you have to ask yourself. Where is this? What am I doing here? Where does the totally insane belief in gods of vengeance come from? Love has not confused its attributes with those of fear, yet must the worshippers of fear perceive their own confusion in fear's enemy, its cruelty as now as part of love. And what becomes more fearful than the heart of love itself? The blood appears to be upon his lips, the fire comes from him, and he is terrible above all else, cruel beyond conception, striking down all who acknowledge him to be their God. So we are basically just confusing that. We then suddenly the person who is good, we feel it's evil. Everything what that person does is evil. It's out to get us. He's terrible above all else, cruel beyond conception, striking down all who acknowledge him to be their God. The choice you make today is certain, for you look for the last time upon this bit of carven stone you made, and call it God no longer. There is no cruelty in God, and none in me. So, if there is somebody who's being really cruel, this is not God. This is obviously somebody who has lost his mind in ego. And it's our job to look beyond that. This is a tough one. You have reached this place before, but you have chosen that this cruel God remain with you in still another form. This, I am going to get you. You will pay for this kind of thinking. I will get you. Sooner or later, you will arrive and then you will get it from me. This kind of God of cruelty, or this cruel God. And so the fear of God returned with you. This time you leave it here, and you return to a new world unburdened by its weight, beheld not in its sightless eyes, but in the vision that your choice restored to you. Now do your eyes belong to Christ? That means if your eyes belong to Christ, your eyes belong to Christ's vision, it means you are looking past it. You're looking past that cruel leader. You're looking past that cruel mob. And this can be really challenging. But if you can see past it, then you can see the light within yourself too. Now do your eyes belong to Christ and He looks through them. Now your voice belongs to God and echoes His. And now your heart remains at peace forever. You have chosen Him in place of idols, and your attributes given by your Creator are restored to you at last. The call of God is heard and answered. Now has fear made way for love, as God Himself replaces cruelty. Father, we are like you. No cruelty abides in us, for there is none in you. Your peace is ours, and we bless the world with what we have received from you alone. We choose again and make our choice for all our brothers, knowing they are one with us. We bring them your salvation as we have received it now, and we give thanks for them who render us complete. In them we see your glory, and in them we find our peace. Holy are we, because your holiness has set us free, and we give thanks. Amen. This is a lesson about forgiveness. It's a lesson about seeing the light in others. And as you're seeing the light in others, you become aware of the light within yourself. And you got to apply this lesson. You got to apply this lesson, so allowing your higher self to show it to you. Allowing your higher self to play it out for you, so you can see it within yourself. You can find it. What does this actually mean for me? And like I have said, during all this last period, you should be spending at least 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening in meditation, considering this lesson. If you can't do 30, do 20 and 20, but spend at least 10 minutes, morning and evening. And also try to apply the lesson every hour. Remembering it, write it down on a post-it. And now when you do the Qigong class with me, lay your book next to you, open up your lesson, and when I prompt you in the Qigong class to remember your lesson, you can just look at your lesson, read it, and then continue considering what this lesson actually means for you. So for this, I am suggesting 2 standing classes, because this is a very young lesson. So I am suggesting this Qigong class for forgiveness, and this Qigong class to remember your central channel, your core self, or you can pick a different class from the top here. Let me know how it goes.